What's going on, everyone? I'm Johnny B. Crazy. Welcome back. I'm so glad for you to be able to start your week off with me. Started off right and started off crazy. This is Nooners of Thrones. We will be talking about the latest episode of Game of Thrones while John pulls a. We'll be talking about the latest episode of Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night. They're getting real original with these titles, but we'll get on that later. First off, let me introduce my panel. We have an awesome panel today. And let's see, SaSa, resident co host, MackenzieLBurns. How is it going?
Doing very well, Johnny. This episode is a little bit darker than most in literal and figurative ways. But yeah, it's good and I'm happy to join you once again for another Nooners of Thrones.
Thank you so much for coming on. It's going to be pretty awesome. This was a very, very, very interesting episode. There's a lot to like. There may be a lot to bitch and moan and whinge about. But with that, my other guest on the panel is John St. Baptiste, the music maker. I think he makes Cylon babies in a factory somewhere, but we'll get into that on another channel. John, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going? It's good to see you guys. I've been away for the weekend, so it's really good to spend some time with you guys and talk about this episode, which overall I liked. I have things that I didn't care for, but overall I thought this was a great episode. So I'm really stoked to talk about it.
It was pretty fun. It was definitely good on the first watch. That was probably the best watch. But let me welcome some of these awesome peeps to the chat. Anime lover Nicole, what is going on? So happy to see you. Storm Still, what is up? The Imagination Realm. www.theimaginationrealm.com. Go check it out. Miss Cronall, how are you doing? Alicia Kingston, what is up, my friend? Kimmy Jane, welcome to the chat. Linda Smith, how are you? I see spots. It is good to see you. Lady Laura Dane Starfall, what is up? Peter Griffin, giggity, my friend. Khaleesi Close, how are you doing? JD, what is good, my man? There's so many awesome people in this chat. Tina, Sarah, Fandom D Saint, Danny McKay. I saw Dornish Dan. Shout out to Jose Martel. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Catherine Bassett. Fake Aria, how are you doing? Katrin C, from my point of view, how is everyone doing? I know I didn't get everyone. Living on a prayer, what is up? Bobby Catalano, big heart to Bobby. Everybody make Bobby's name orange because she really loves that. It'll make her blush. She's gonna cuss at me later. Steve York, Sonny Frank, Nikolai, what is up? John Del Vento, how's it going, bud? All right, so let's get into this. Ladies first. So we'll go with go with Mackenzie. What's up, SaSa? Your initial
Hello.
thoughts of the episode before Liz Kopic, what's going on? Your initial thoughts of the episode before you rewatched it.
The initial thought of the episode, it was well done. It's probably, I was surprised that it was entirely just the battle. I actually, because we had the extended about 20 minutes or so, I really did think we were going to get at least a hint of Cersei. But obviously we didn't. But yeah, it was pretty good. Just needed more lighting. was was the biggest takeaway from this. But yeah.
Yeah, I think they couldn't afford those flashlights. The bulbs went out because they had paranormal activity on the set, but I'll get on the inside track of that later. John, what were your initial thoughts of the episode?
I liked the episode overall, but as Mackenzie said, the lighting was a real issue. You know, I've sat here and watched it 3 times now, and still, I can't tell what's going on half the time. Like it's very poorly lit.
I made the joke on Alicia Kingston's channel that you had to put it through the video editor and lighten up the film to even be able to watch the episode. I think they took liberty with this because one, you can do more with less CGI. You don't have to have all of the detail there. That's one thing. I think that they possibly took advantage of it. But you could take advantage of the blur, but give us a little lighting so we can at least see what's going on. It just looked like a mishmash of stuff. Even though, this wasn't the whole um episode, but I agree with it. It was really hard to see. But what we did see was pretty spectacular. I really did like the dragons above the cloud setting with the moonlight background, even though it was a little super fantasy. I dug it. I dug it. Susan Dunkel, what is good? Yeah, the fog of war. They took liberty with that fog of war. I agree. Let's see. I know you weren't saying that though. That makes it sound like you were saying that the fog of war is a bad thing. But they did go overboard with it. But you got to think the Night King brings the cold, brings the storm with him. Why didn't John think of that? Why did no one? It's not like John hasn't seen this 3 times. Um, so with that, I'm already ranting so hardcore. Y'all let me know your initial thoughts of the chat. Oh, Miss Cronall, question already. Let's go ahead and do this. I think the battle was missing a central commander and an epic Barristan-like speech. What was missing for you? John, would you like to take that? That's a really good question.
Yeah, no, because there wasn't a particular moment that somebody was like, "Hey, we've." The closest was the heart-wrenching moment that we'll talk about later that may or may not have made me cry in public. But like there was no central speech. There was no central, form of leadership. I mean, the closest thing you have is, frickin' Melisandre sitting here. Oh, hey, can you speak their language? Let's light their swords on fire and, go give them 2,000 warriors that can come right back and kill us.
I would argue this was a cool cinematic moment. If you didn't have any context leading up, because Mel didn't show any of these powers. Didn't even so much as light a sword on fire. She lit pyres with a torch. She didn't even show her power at this. But I'm still going to suspend disbelief at this point in the episode. Where I have a problem with Mel is why does she have to be the one to light the logs on fire? Pitch doesn't burn. Or are we supposed to believe there's not pitch in there and it's just wood that's supposed to catch on fire? Wood and hempen rope, which would catch pretty quickly, but not like that. Anyways, this is a TV show and we still love it. So just remember this. In the beginning, though, I was literally encapsulated in this. Following Sam around, even though Alicia Kingston, definitely, I kind of agree with you on Sam's character, but that's who he is, even though they seemingly exacerbated it. I felt like Sam was going to die about 3 different times. And then, you have Tyrion who takes his fanny pack and goes down to the crypts. But really quick, let's talk about that. Tyrion and Sansa, and we'll talk a little bit about Mel, but we'll get some of the shorter plot lines out of the way real quick, and then I'll definitely go to some of these questions because we've got some awesome questions in the chat.
No, I've gotten all my whinging out. I've gotten all my whinging out.
So SaSa, what do you think about
what was missing from the episode? Like answer to Miss Cronall's question.
What was missing from the battle?
Missing, yeah, you could say like a rallying cry, but at the same time, they were literally right there. So it's hard to say, but yeah, like I think like what Miss Cronall said, it's like I'm missing the central commander, or like the speech. Like Brienne just said, "Stand your ground," but that's not really anything too spectacular.
We'll get to that, but that's a good segue, right? Tyrion talked about how he and Varys should be up there doing something. They rallied people before. I think this is a good point. I believe this is foreshadowing for Varys, Sansa, Tyrion, and even Missandei to play a big role in the battle against Cersei, / battle against, Dany's obsession with the throne, because she's going to have to get over that, and she's not over that yet. Of course, this can pull them together, but she still has to slightly get over that. John.
Yeah, I loved this Sansa and Tyrion scenes in this episode so much. In fact, I think it might have been some of the best scenes in the episode. It wasn't spectacle. It wasn't anything, you don't always need that. I just thought it was so well done. Like their interaction, I thought was so well done in this episode. I was very happy with that. And Tyrion's right. He's like, yeah, like I should be doing something, and everybody's like, oh no, you can't. Like that kind of ticked me off a little bit, but it on the same note, it's pretty true.
Yeah, like I think the whole crypts had that was the whole scenario that had the most dialogue was in the crypt, because everything else was just like fighting and screaming, and then just like hold, shoot, or like man the wall. Like that was the most amount of long form dialogue was in the crypts. Everything else was just like quick commands. Really. Yeah, I think the whole Tyrion, like they're kind of setting up the whole Tyrion and Sansa thing. It's a little bit weird that they're doing it now again. She did say that he was the best husband that she ever had, and that pretty much they're still on opposing sides technically. So I don't know if it's gonna work the way that a lot of people are wanting to. So. Or is conceiving it to be anyway.
This right here almost solidifies them getting married. This was more flirting than Sansa and Gendry ever did. Even though we do got to talk about what's going to happen.
Sansa and Gendry, you mean Sansa?
I mean, my bad. Arya and Gendry. Someone else was in the chat as before was shipping Sansa and Gendry. I can't remember who it was. Never mind. Yell at me if it was you. So, we got some really good questions, but let me touch on Tyrion and Sansa. I really think they're gonna get married. Sansa, this is literally the only person that was good to her. I don't think she's gonna open up to want to meet new people, especially right now. And you would go somewhat what's comfortable for you, something that feels close to home. You can argue with me that no, Tyrion isn't close to home, but he's the closest thing to comfort and a family she had while she was gone. He was the only one that treated her decent, besides the Hound. Now that San probably isn't happening in the show, they're definitely going to get together. But let me get with some of these questions here, because there's a billion of them. Kimmy Jane, what do you think about Ghost? I was heartbroken they showed him in the battle, but then didn't give us any more. Luckily, he is in the preview for episode 4, but # show Ghost love. So I agree. It was a little odd. I thought Ghost should be closer to Jon or protecting one of the children. To have Ghost out there on the front lines is akin to Jon just saying, go die, buddy. You just go die. I didn't like that at all. It was a gratuitous shot just to kind of make the fans happy, and I did have an issue with it. It was like, let's plug Ghost here so they don't bitch and whine. But little do they know, we bitch and whine about everything, so get ready. SaSa, what do you think about that?
Ghost, yeah, it's cool to see Ghost beside Jorah, but Ghost seemingly shrunk again. Like, he's back to his normal. So I guess without Jon being around him, he just shrinks. It's kind of like, I guess, with the dragons, when they weren't around Dany, they just didn't grow properly, or they didn't flourish. So I personally would have thought that Ghost would have been in the crypts with Sansa and the people in the crypts, so they would have at least something there. But knowing that the crypts basically get broken apart. In the end, it's kind of not that bad. But I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, yeah, they got Ghost, but it's just like they don't. He just runs away and then comes back, like in the next preview. So it's just like he's just out there wandering the wilderness, and then I guess dragging all the bodies that were way uh, out in the distance, just to bring them all back because they're gonna have a serious cleanup job come next episode. So yeah, that's kind of what I think. But it's like it was annoying in a sense, but it was nice to see him just wrong. That he was put in the wrong spot essentially.
Yeah, John Del Vento, mostly bitching and whining. Um, what's up, Top Shelf fandom? I might shoot you something here really quick. Let's see. Had some more questions here. Don't understand really quick. Did Brand download the Night King? I don't think so. I think we're supposed to believe when Brand wargs those ravens that he's drawing the Night King to him, but it goes against him saying the Night King knows exactly where I am because he marked me. I would argue he wouldn't have to do that. Now he did the first time he did that. That's how the Night King saw him, but after that he's been marked, so that wouldn't have to happen. Now I can't throw it out of the way. I have the sneaking suspicion that there's going to be a new Night King born at the end of this, possibly, and they screw with us all. But I could be completely wrong. I won't throw that possibility out though. Um, where the hell is Braun? I don't know. I think he's walking, Bobby. I think he's walking from King's Landing. Um, okay, so John, this question for you. Living on a Prayer says, do you think it was well handled when Sir Gregor Clegane froze and experienced PTSD until Beric pulled him out of it? What did you think of Sandor's reaction? Actually, my bad.
I did, but I'm kind of getting oversaturated with Sandor PTSD, if that makes any sense. Like, it happened last season. It happened the season before. Uh, it kind of it's been done so often that you kind of lose the effect of it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, like the first time it happened, you're like, oh shit. Okay, yeah, but then it happens again, and then it happens again, and you're like either he overcomes this or he doesn't.
Mm.
And I know that makes me sound like a horrible, callous bastard, but
Well, you are. We all know this. You vampire, soul sucking bastard. And
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you,
It's
but I think it's bound to happen, right? He still hasn't got over his fear of fire. We saw it beyond the wall with Thor. He froze up in the barricade. That's just kind of his signature. I think it's going to be funny because in the end, fire is going to be the cleanser for him. That's going to be his rebirth. Is fire. And I'm thinking about in the books, his whole arm is completely burned up too after the fight with Barrick. So if you add that in there, even though I know it didn't happen in the show, his
no, Dornistan, I totally agree with you, Dornistan. I am not saying anything remotely condescending about somebody who had PTSD is like something that you don't get over. But
when it's all the time.
being used as a television thing, it like you do it over and over again, and it kind of loses its influence, if that makes sense.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I see where you're coming from. I kind of figured it was going to happen. It's the same.
Yeah.
Let me answer. I'll let you answer real quick. Let me answer a couple of questions in the chat. Nicola, I don't. I think the mark is still there. I don't know that it necessarily means anything, but it's something to keep an eye on for sure. John Del Vento. Now, it did to me when I first watched it sound like Mel was saying Nisa in her little spell, but it's slightly different. It's like Nisi, I can't remember, but they probably made it similar on purpose. What is up? The knight who smoked the laughing tree. Also, let me see. I think that's it. So go ahead, SaSa, and then we have a couple more questions if you want to address them on the side there.
Um, the with the hound, it is kind of like, yes, you can have that moment of PTSD, but when every single other person, men, women, young kids, have to fight against these dead people, and you're one of the best fighters, and you're just standing there with your back against the wall, just going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like they spent like you can have a lot of that time, but you can have to have it and then not have to go back to it and him still being like that. Especially seeing Arya and Arya almost it takes Arya almost having to slip off the battlement for him to realize, okay, now I have to sink into motion. Like it takes like for 20 something minutes, I think it is, when we go in between scenes of the hound, it's just him just standing there, just like being frozen, not knowing what to do. Barracks yelling at him to do something, and he's just frozen. Yes, I understand the PTSD element, but he's stared into the fire before. He's never been afraid of it. Like he kind of got over that a little bit with staring into the fire and understanding what the fire means, and then to just freak out and just stand there and not do anything. It's just a little bit wavering with this character, but it's hard to say. One of the questions, I think it was, I can't, it might have been Cindy Sammy, I'm not too sure. I forgot to grab what it was. Oh, anime lover Nicole said, did there, what about House Karstark? Because Alice was in the Godswood with Theon and everybody else. We didn't see her die, so she either gets an off-screen death or something happened. Like either all of the Karstarks got off-screen deaths, or she's still somehow alive. I would have thought that they would have had that, like we've been talking about pretty much forever, is that there would have been a report that a redhead was murdered or taken by a white.
You could
And
argue that body could be sent to Cersei
yeah.
if she is found amongst the rubble. I want to answer something really quick. John Del Vento pointed out, why didn't Arya turn into a white when she was touched? One, because she's still alive, and two, because she's not a Craster's baby with the black blood. And then it would take a whole stream for me to talk about the black blood and go down that wormhole. But it's basically because she's not an infant and she's not dead. I would argue, though, that that probably would have broke her neck. But, she's been training doing them to the neck lift. She's been doing the Mike Tyson neck exercises. So
Yeah.
Did you love the neck drop? I mean, seriously, it was fucking awesome.
I just wondered. It got me out of reality for a second, or in the show verse for a second, of like, where'd she come from? Where'd she come from? If she's coming from behind everybody else, it's not like she could have jumped from the battlements of Winterfell or the walls of Winterfell. It's just like, where'd she come from? Did she sneak up into a tree and no one see her? Like, yeah, I can see that she's quiet as a fox or a snake or whatever the line is in the book, but it's like no one even saw her. Like, or hear rustling in the trees. Like, if
Now
she
she
was
snuck
in
up
the
on it.
trees.
It's just like,
It suspends reality for like a tiny second, but all right.
oh, sorry, I sent the link out to my son. Can have my son pop on. He's got some good comments in the chat there. Let's see. I saw a couple things. Holy crap, we got a ton of questions. Mods, when y'all see good questions, keep reposting them for me if you can, because the stream's going really fast. Y'all are awesome in the chat. Let me see what we got. Some more stuff in the side here. All right, longer. The knight who smoked the laughing tree. You didn't answer that, did you?
No.
The main question I'm left with is, since there weren't any main character deaths and the battle was won, what is the bittersweet ending we're supposed to get? I honestly don't know. Winterfell's gone, and I think they've backed themselves into a hole to where they're going to have to just kill people, and I think it might lose a little bit of its glamour. And yes, I used that on purpose because of the ending of this episode. I think they've held off on killing a lot of characters. I would argue that a few of these characters that we've seen that made it to the battle shouldn't have. Jorah's death was pretty good. You know, it's nice to see Dany defend herself. But it's, what is supposed to be bittersweet? I think Dany not being able to get over her power lust would be bittersweet. Seeing Dany come all this way, seeing Dany overcome all of these horrible obstacles, but the obstacle being her mind is something she can't get over, or her ego. That would be super bittersweet because I like Dany and I like how they're playing the tension out, but I hope she comes back to the good side like that. I'm not saying she's on the bad side yet, but she is. All she wants is the throne. She doesn't even believe Jon is telling the truth. We'll see if this battle is yet to change anything, but I don't think it is. I still think she's going to be focused on that throne. That could be her bittersweet. But, that's just a crazy man thinking shit up. Jon.
Now I mean, and you and I have discussed this a few times. Like, you're a much bigger Dany fan than I am. I don't particularly care for her character. I haven't in the 20 years that I've been reading these books. I think she acts like a spoiled teenager. But her character arc in the show is a little more significant, and you kind of wonder, is there going to be that disappointment at the end? That I don't think that she's going to end up with Jon. I don't think Jon's going to end up with the throne. But I almost see her turning into like a Cersei character where she gets what she wants, and it's just a glass full of empty.
Yeah, she's trying to follow almost a prophecy, a self-fulfilling prophecy in her mind. What is up, Top Shelf Fandom, aka Justin Thomas? I don't know if it's aka just Justin Thomas from Top Shelf Fandom. What's going on, bro?
Yeah, I'm known as a bunch of stuff. Thanks for having me jump in. I was about to do my rewatch, but more than happy to jump on with you fine people. So excited to talk a little bit about the episode.
I appreciate it, man. So with that, is there anything you'd like to just go ahead and state about the episode? I know you had some really good points in the chat, and they did do some good somatic things here.
Yeah, like what Jon was saying, like I think that like it's always like, and first time I'm meeting you, Jon, on air. Nice to meet you. I think that first off, it's very difficult to like kind of like walk that fine line because you don't want to offend anybody. But what you're feeling, in my opinion, is what they want you to feel. We're supposed to be like, just get over it, man. Get over it, right? Be a man. Get over it. Yeah, like that's what they're invoking. And finally, when he does get over it for Arya, like it works. You know what I mean? But it's not out of line to say, come on, man. Are we coming back here again? You know what I mean? Because that's it's kind of like they're doing their job when they do invoke that feeling out of you. If you just sit there and you don't feel anything, then they haven't done it. But I totally get where you're coming from on that, because it's like that thin line. You're like, oh, PTSD, just come on, get over it. But when you're watching a television show and the same thing keeps reoccurring, you're like, God, come on, man, just get over it. But I felt it worked well. And I think that somebody like you that's passionate and informed about the show feeling that way is kind of, even though it was annoying to you, and I got a little bit annoyed as well, I think it is a sign that it worked. That's the only thing that I want to touch on from what I saw you guys talking about, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved, I think my favorite piece of dialogue in this entire episode was when Beric was talking to Sandor. And he's like, it's death. You can't fight death. And Barry's like, she does. It was just like,
yeah.
That is the most badass piece of dialogue that's this whole season.
Yeah. I really am like not the biggest fan of Arya. And I would have thought that what happened last night would be far more annoying to me with how much of a role she played. Surprisingly, I agree with you. I really like that dialogue. I really like a lot of the arcs that were. I liked Theon's role in this, even though we do need to address the Bran stuff eventually. But I felt like that was really smart for them to have Theon go out that way, because there's not a lot of total like crisp redemption arcs in Thrones. You know, it's always going to be gray. But I think they did say this in the after show, something that was actually intelligent, that there's when this canvas is so vast, there's room for that. And I thought it was really well done, because talk about portraying PTSD well. Elvie Allen needs an Oscar. I know Oscars are for films, but I mean that guy has portrayed a guy that's just been horribly mutilated, you know, every form of torture possible, and he acts in a way that you can tell he's off, but he's not a maniac. You know, like the subtleties in his performance have been so good. And I really got, I hate to say the feels because it's lame, but I got the feels for that. I felt they did a lot good. And there's a few things that they really need to seal the deal on. But yeah, I'm with you on that. And I don't like hashtag Arya shit all the time. And there was a lot of hashtag Arya shit going on this episode.
I thought it was kind of a good culmination of her story. It's kind of the perfect culmination of Arya's story arc. You know, I think it kind of takes out of play her killing Cersei, but I think she's definitely going to have a part in that. And her in the mountain, her and the Hound fight in the mountain is definitely going to happen now. I think they're going to go straight up and give us that, given they've given us a lot of fan service this season, which is okay. You know, we're kind of supposed to get this at this point. But the visuals here, I know we want to talk about Bran. And screw it. Let's talk about Tormund first. People have been asking where Tormund is. You have Tormund, Brienne, Pod. These people get backed into a corner. And honestly, in a real sword fight, you're going to be spent before this time. I felt like we needed one more major death in this episode at least. And the fact that Gendry, Torment, all of these people survived.
Grey Worm.
Yeah, it puts a little less dramatic emphasis on the show. Like rewatching the show for me wasn't as good because the drama wasn't there. You know, I knew these people most people you care about didn't die. You know, you can argue Jorah's good. I care about Jorah, but you see his story arc. He was supposed to die. You know, you're expecting it. What do you think, Justin?
Yes, statistically, there's a lot of deaths. Impactfully, there was not. I totally agree. Dollars Ed, I thought, is a good example of giving what is somewhat of a meaningless death. And of course, he's fighting the good fight, but he wasn't doing something like he's being very heroic. Don't get me wrong. I don't know if I'd be up in that line. But the point is, it showed the randomness in how brutal and how indifferent the universe is to you. You know how quickly you can just go. Not really to do. I guess I just snap like Thanos kind of, but whatever. Fuck it. You know, in battle, like I kind of appreciate those deaths because it does show like just how fucking brutal and how random it is. You know, like he's there one minute, then he's not the next. He doesn't, you know, save Khaleesi and then die. So I appreciate those deaths. Yeah, I feel that there's a few arcs that are complete. I thought my thing was, and I love Brienne, but that would have really hammered down just how brutal and how sad this event truly was if you would have took her. And again, I love her as a character, but the thing is, you need Jaime around for this Cersei situation way more than you need Brienne around, because Brienne just doesn't like Cersei. It's not, you know, her back's not up against the wall after this. It's just, I'm going to follow, you know, Sansa, so you could have some stuff there. But the point is, you want to keep the people around that you're going to have conflict with, but kill a few people that people are in love with before they get, like Jorah has the storybook ending, right? He saves Khaleesi, but they needed to kill off a few more people like they did with Ed, in big names. And no disrespect to Ed.
They were putting everything in the crushing of a small child by a giant.
Which I loved.
And I did like that. That was really good. SaSa, go ahead. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, like Miss Chrono said, only GOT can show us the crushing of a child by a giant and not have it be the biggest moment of an episode. Exactly. Yeah, the whole Leon Mormont thing and the big quote unquote death. Like, this was apparently marketed to be Red Wedding Part 2. this isn't Red Wedding Part 2. If it was Red Wedding Part 2, we would have had major people. We would have probably had the Starks, Dany, and maybe one other person alive. If this was really Red Wedding Part 2, if we're being completely honest. Yeah, Theon was great. His death though is just kind of, if Arya had shown up either 1 second earlier or like 5 minutes earlier, it would have been alright, but why didn't Theon have a dragon glass tipped spear is beyond me. Or an arrow, like at least a tip on the arrow, beyond me, but whatever.
No, he had dragon glass arrows. He just ran
No,
out.
the tips of like the bow. Sorry, not the arrows. Like the bow, because that's what he was using in the end. Was like the yeah. So
in an ideal world,
you would have thought like he had time to make Arya a two-handed version thing, which Johnny guessed correctly about that. But yeah, they needed to equip the Ironborn with much more than they were given. I guess the Karstarks, because the Karstarks were in there too. So
yeah, the Ironborn kind of get the cheap deal when it comes to weapons manufacturing.
In all ends of life.
Oh my God. John, yeah, what do you think about anything with Tormund, Brienne? Do you think they should have killed some other people? Also, just throw in what you think about any of those character plots. They all ended up in the middle of Winterfell, surrounded by dead bodies. You would think they would have at least a couple of kids being like water boys and running around with torches and burning bodies. I think that would be almost a priority, that they're gonna come back, that you've killed them, they're not gonna be completely dead at this point, especially your fallen friends. And they seem to have forgotten all about that this episode. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, on the one note, it's like the chaos of battle. Like you don't really think about all these things, but on the also it's like, come on, they're gonna come back. Like, yeah, have some kids running around with torches. Agreed.
Where is the knowledge that the tool of knowledge that was obtained by Bran and Sam was not utilized? I think that's the big problem whatsoever. Like, it's a perfect point of lighting the whites and stuff like that. That's just basic bitch shit right there. Sorry for my language, but like all this knowledge that was supposed to come from the Citadel and the Bran 10,000, really, that's where I feel they lacked. It was like they went and had a dogfight when a conventional warfare like scenario with everything but a conventional enemy. That's the one thing I think the flaws lay with Bran here more than anything, of what he really did, why it was necessary for him to go past that wall.
Well, man, hey, he gave Arya the Valyrian steel dagger, so you could say that Bran saves the day, right? But we didn't get any subtext for this. We're just getting kind of vagueness that we have to put together ourselves. I agree.
Yeah.
Why did he have to go beyond the wall? Why did he have to become the three-eyed raven? Why? I mean, it really...
Why?
Yeah, there's a lot of whys here. There's a lot of whys and not enough therefore and buts.
I think the big lesson is don't give military command to a 17-year-old kid.
That is true. That is true.
John did a lot better before he died.
Yeah, exactly.
You could argue. I would think... Go ahead.
Another person who's kind of missing, and we're like, ooh, Bronn John Royce. Where the hell were they?
Oh, he was chilling in the meat cellar. So that is a question. The Knights of the Vale.
What are they hiding at?
They were with Brienne and Jaime in the on the left flank, but I'm not saying I saw them in the episode, but that's where they were supposed to be, and there was some Vale shields.
There were, like, you saw like the Vale shields. And a few of them, but
it's supposed to be mounted though.
Yeah, they were supposed to be mounted, so I guess the dragons were eating all of the Vale's horses. Weird.
Also, the Vale's in the north now, and they swear to their king, fuck Sweet Robin.
But where's Bronn John Royce? They meant to highlight it. Sorry.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's gonna do any good-looking fighting on screen. They stayed away from his book character completely. So I would just say he's gonna pop up next season and make next episode, and just make a snarky comment. I would say kind of out of sight, out of mind with him. He's not really that big of a character, and they didn't feel like putting him in. Probably didn't feel like writing it. Honestly, it's just easier not to write him in with that, with so much else going on, is my opinion with that.
Yeah, I just to interject. I think that he's going to play a part in the coming, which we had almost a lady fight down in the crypt with the Sansa, allegiance. He'll probably play a role in that. With the Veil having, I see some qualms between Dany and Sansa for sure. I mean, it's pretty fucking obvious. So he'll come into play, just the force that he brings, meaning in that sense.
They're forcing that on this, and they're forcing John to be in the middle of this, and it can go a couple of different ways. But as I was talking about the bittersweet ending now, what can it be? I don't think John's going to die at this point. He is the reluctant king, the reluctant ruler. John will probably sit the throne, and he will hate every single bit of it. The more I watch this season, they're going pretty traditional with their routes. They're not seemingly going that much outside the box. The fantasy tropes are there. But they still, I still have hope that it's going to be. I feel like every single crippled bastard and broken thing is going to live after seeing this. And that's an issue with me.
Except for my boy Theon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of people obviously are upset with, just Night King dying, and a lot of people can't accept that. And they're like, well, he marked Bran, he can still come back. I think the issue here is if you look at this just strictly from a storytelling sense, meaning a character's arc, we have a human that was turned against their will by the children of the forest, weaponized. So that again is where your empathy, and this is what I've been talking about for like 2 years now, is probably just going to derive from. And I was worried they're just going to count on that. But if you look at the big picture, we were never going to have him sit down and do an armistice. That would be nice. They do have their own language. They have wants and desires. So that means they can be dealt with. They've been dealt with before. But really, the only thing they could have probably injected in this show is to make him a Targaryen, which I think they hinted towards with the stupid fire blowing on and him smirking, are making him some familiar tie. I think the fault more lays into, because what you have is a guy turned into a monster against his will, coming to exact revenge. That happened. Now he didn't win. But the bigger question is, and I think the bigger fault that we're overlooking, that I see a lot of people overlooking, is really the issue lies more with what Bran needed to learn about him. Because he's just essentially bait, right? So that's where we're running into problems with people being dissatisfied, if that makes sense. I think that we're too focused on the Night King's arc not being complete when it really kind of is, in my opinion. I'm not happy, people, but I'm just saying technically his arc is pretty well sealed. It's Bran's arc that doesn't make a whole lot of sense at this point.
Pretty well established. It's over.
Yes.
I could say they'll pull one over on us maybe and try to make it in the end with a new. See, it just doesn't sound right me thinking about it. But with the new Night King being born, in a sense, at the end of the show, that would be pretty bittersweet. But I just don't know. It depends if humanity at this point can't get over itself in a way, I could see a punishment of nature and that cyclical thing returning. Seeing a baby kind of turn blue at the end. But other than that,
I think that's definitely, I would bet money on that happening.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what they're going to do. Yeah.
That's the elephant in the corner. Like, it's been 8,000 years that these people haven't evolved at all.
Evolution is not linear.
Like, but there have been no like rises and falls. It's just been like the same straight thing.
Yeah.
For 8,000 years, like we had the Minoans who were technologically far more advanced than anybody, and then they had a societal collapse because of natural disasters. and you have these rises and falls of society, but that's the thing about Westeros. Like, nothing ever changes.
That's a good point. I think they're going to be forced to change, right?
Well,
Yeah.
not if this
Maybe.
is. I think John's making the good point that not if this is how this ends. Why would they be forced to change? They won. There's no incentive. There's no lesson for them to have learned from this. This goes back to what I say about George says again, and I hope the books come out, but I would not bet they are going to be finished. Says that in the end of his books, it'll be a non-magical reason that'll be given to us for why the seasons are the way they are. Okay. And I've talked about this a lot. I use the Africa analogy because it's a lot of climate zones, it's too tall. There's too many different climate zones. You have people that have different, ways of living. So they have different, just the things, their lifestyles, it's very tribalistic. It's all these people that have different, just ways of living. They're vastly different from each other in the north than they are even in the Riverlands. And then from the Stormlands to Dorne, like these people all have different just goals and desires, and the way they live ethically, morally, everything about their life is just substantially different. They're always going to be divided, these 9 kingdoms technically. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have a lot in common, and it has to do a lot with the climate and the terrain in which they live in. So without that inclusion in the show, I find it hard to believe. Like, I do agree with John. Why would they change? They beat the occult with occult. No lesson.
Yeah. It's hard to say what they're going to do in the aftermath of all of this, because now they've kind of set it up for 3 episodes of epilogue, where it's just like, what are we going to do? Oh, we have to deal with Cersei. But it's going to be an episode of prep to go deal with Cersei. And then we're going to deal with Cersei. And then what happens after dealing with Cersei? That's pretty much how I think that it's set up. These last episodes is
reset, engage, and then
Battle of King's Landing. That's what we're going to get. The Battle of King's Landing. Now, I can say Melisandre's not going to do anything here. The people probably aren't going to rise up because they're not thinking about it that hard. It's weird, right? Because we're going to have 2 episodes of pretty much nothing. I think Bronn's going to do his assassination attempt. We'll see if Tyrion and Jaime die. I would say that they could die right now. They're set up pretty good for it. You're not expecting them to die. You're expecting them to make it to Cersei. Jaime and Brienne sitting there talking, and Jaime takes a bolt in the neck, just like Darren. What?
I think Bronn's just going to be like, I'm supposed to kill you. Can you double it?
Well,
I agree with that.
He
sells a sword.
I forgot where I was.
I'm sorry, John. I apologize for interrupting you.
You were talking about the Bronn and like what Bronn was going to do.
Go ahead with whatever you're gonna. Go ahead. What do you think?
Well, he didn't show up in this episode, which I was kind of like, I thought that he was the Mel character that was showing up in the middle of the darkness or whatever. But yeah, where are they gonna meet Bronn in at the crossroads, and we're gonna get our last goodbye to Hot Pie or something? Is that like where we're going with this? Is that they're all gonna travel south at the end of the 4th episode, and we're all just gonna meet up with Hot Pie, and everybody's just gonna have a party before the end of the next battle? Before the next battle.
Well, how divided do you guys think
Bronn's gonna get all the way there, and we're like, actually, we're going to go back that way, because what would be the entire point of him going north just to have them turn around at the end of the next episode and go south? Just travel there to travel back. It's like meet him halfway, almost.
I'm sorry, but you went out on my end, so I started talking to an asshole. My question was, how divided to you guys how divided do you think that they're going to be going against Cersei? I see a large amount of division between Sansa and Dany. I don't think this is going to be a united front. So I think there's going to be a lot of backdoor dealing, a lot of what we love, a lot of the geopolitics. And I think that we are going to have a situation, where Bran, I agree with John there, that it's going to be similar to that. I don't think that's right in line with who Bran is. So I think a lot of backdoor dealing is going to be happening. And I could see a situation where John does end up on the throne, but maybe the North doesn't bend the knee to him, and it's Sansa.
I could still see
Oh.
Danny getting killed by Bronn here. You know, with everything, you know, the whole bed scene, yes, at the end of it, Qyburn's telling him that this is who Cersei wants him to kill, but the only thing he can think about are the dragons and that horror that he went through. And that may be the only person he kills. I kind of do agree with that. I don't think he even trusts Cersei as far as he can throw her. Anybody that knows her knows this. Let's see. With the Iron Islands, I do think Yara will possibly come back into play here. They need ships. We've seen ships, and where the hell else are they going to get ships? So I think we'll see the Iron Islands. I guess they'll have to go around, and that could take 2 episodes. So we might get.
No, it doesn't have to. You know, they're just going to show up. You know, they're going to come in and they're going to fuck Euron up. My prediction is, yes, Johnny, you're absolutely correct. I got the map behind me. That is what they would need to do. That is not what's going to happen. They're going to come in last moment and they're going to clash with Euron. And because Theon, you know, is dead now, and Yara's got a role to play, I think.
Yeah. What I was saying was that basically what would be the purpose of Bronn to go all the way to Winterfell just to have them basically turn around and be like, yeah, we're going back that way. Just meet him halfway. Meet him near the end at the crossroads or something like that. Like just a one like final thing for that, because it's like he shows up last second, 5 minutes later, oh, we're going back. Like he'd just be like be that comic relief of for fuck's sake, pretty much. And yes, I just
he'll pop up in the North this next episode because they're going to be in the North the whole episode. I agree with you. Logistically, that doesn't make sense, but do we want to go there?
So food's going to become an issue again. Well, it has to, right? If they're going to stay in the North, the food's going to come back up. Here you go. We're going to have a good little, what would you call it? Skirmish. At least a political skirmish, and I think it could get out of hand. And I wouldn't put it past John to think Cersei is a better option than Dany at one point, because Dany got the damn crazy eyes when John told her who he was. She got the crazy eyes if he wasn't paying attention.
And she's the first one to change the battle strategy. As soon as the Dothraki run forward, that was not supposed to. That apparently wasn't the original strategy. When the Dothraki run forward and they're obliterated, and she runs away, that wasn't how it was supposed to happen. They were supposed to wait for more of a clash before she gets on Drogon and flies away. It's like she messed up already the plan.
Teenage
catalyst it,
generals.
Well, the one thing that I would say is it's that old, saying, like, after World War I, they would say a soldier's life is worth less after war, because then they got to feed them. And they went back, and then it's like they're a burden on society is how the soldiers were looked at by the politicians, because over in England and France and everywhere, it's like a soldier's life is worth more when they got a gun in their hand and they're on the field, protecting you at home. But then when they come home and they got to feed them and give them jobs, they're more of a burden. So it's that whole sad state.
Frumius B, Dany fought for the people, but in her own words, she just fought John's war, not her war. John, you were saying something?
No, I agree entirely. I think it's going to have to come down to John choosing between Sansa and Dany. And I think he's going to choose Sansa because she's not an impulsive child.
Yeah, there was that line of I'm her family too, and Arya says, or it's like about Sansa and fighting for our family, and John's like, I'm her family too, and Arya says, don't forget that. It's like you can be whipped any way you want to be, but we're still your family, and we've been here for you from the very beginning. So,
are we of the mind that Dany is for sure? I'm still of the mind that she will die. How are we feeling about that?
Yeah,
because that changes that dynamic a lot.
I think she's gonna die. Like,
I'll put pounds to pennies on it.
There's always been that talk of what happens when you die. Who's gonna sit this throne when you die? And now that there's somebody else who has the first actual claim to this, that they're gonna do it that way, like that she won't. At this point, they're not gonna get the baby unless the baby she reveals that she's pregnant, probably 15 minutes before she dies. Like we're not getting the baby anymore. It's only been maybe 2 weeks since the first episode, maybe, and that's stretching it.
You don't know. It takes 2 weeks to get to Winterfell from King's Landing at the bare minimum. So I don't know.
We could tack 3 months on without too much tomfoolery.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be, I would say 3 months since conception because of the boat sex.
Yeah.
I would put us at 3 months. I wouldn't if I was writing it, but I would say they think we're at 3 months. And then there might be a little bit of a holdover here between the Cersei. We could get to that 8 months. I'm not saying I like the way we get there, but I didn't like the way we got to where we got in season 7.
I don't know if the fall could have affected her in some way, like her essentially falling off of Drogon when he got attacked by a whole bunch of whites. Like watching Jon run away and then her just sit there on the dragon. Like, don't you realize there's a whole bunch of dead people probably behind you? And then she's letting Drogon be attacked, and then she falls off. It's like, come on.
I wonder if dragon fire is as bad as smoking when you're pregnant.
Like Dany's quest for the throne is the same thing with the ring from Lord of the Rings. It's the same thing. It corrupts all who chase it, and Dany is corrupted by it. That's gonna be the thing that kills her in a poetic irony. Hopefully, if it plays out right. Even if Dany is pregnant and Jon is the father, they're not getting married. Everything points to if Jon does have a baby, that baby will be a bastard. Because you usually get in this series what you don't want, for the most part. Of course.
If he wasn't so dumb, he could be. And I love Jon. The Maester Aemon would be the perfect foreshadowing for his life. But there's just no fucking way he could be a Maester.
No,
there's just no way.
Yeah, Dany has no army left. She maybe has 50 unsullied.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe. Dornish Dan asked, Dany has no army. She needs an army, not a baby. Could Dario, her old friends with benefits, be brought over with an army? That's what I thought. I thought he was hiding in the Golden Company. To be popped up later.
After this episode, Grey Worm is a Banff.
Yes.
What do you mean he ran away really a whole lot? That's all they really did was run away.
Well, it was a fucked plan. You never send cavalry without infantry, number one. General Ney did it in Waterloo. That didn't work out well. You should have lit that trench. You should have had cavalry charge with infantry, go with them, blast them, make a choke point, have the Unsullied hold, and then use your walls. I mean, I'm armchair generaling it, but I'm sure every idiot on Reddit would at least agree with that one. I mean, it was a silly plan. But I can't get that Dothraki, them getting their whatever, the sickle, I can't remember the name right now, lit up. Oh, but yes, that was, I don't care. I fanned out on that. I thought that was badass, but then I was like, infantry with you, bring infantry. But yeah, they didn't. Yeah,
they could have. I don't know. They could have set up stuff a little better. Jon doesn't remember that the dead are being raised, and someone brought up something about the Night King doesn't have to touch them to raise the dead. He's been doing the arm raising thing. You can argue that White Viserion is different, but I don't think he was even slightly a White Walker. I think it just takes more power to raise a dragon than it does a simple man. And as far as Bran goes, he didn't have to warg the ravens for the Night King to find out where he is. What's the mark for, right? I'm going to just warg the ravens and chill. I'm going to go around for a flight and, you wait on your imminent death, Theon. I'll be cool. I know this, but I'm going to chill out and be Odin for a little bit.
He even was like, goodbye, and then he rolled his head back, or his eyes back. So it's like, I'm just going to be incapacitated for the entirety of the
Doesn't it come down to why couldn't Bloodraven have went south of the wall? Why did Bran need to take Bloodravens? Give me any sensible answer for why Bloodraven, knowing everything he did, needed to hand over the mantle of the three-eyed raven to an inexperienced not ready, person to take that
Okay.
mantle. There's you can't explain that to me right now.
Hodor, take
I
the
would
three-eyed raven.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that can make sense of that to me? That's my one big.
Agreed. I do have to say though, oh my gosh, when Bran is like, Theon, you're a good man.
I liked it.
That hit me in the fucking feels. Like, I don't even know what.
I thought it was really good.
I was just like,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. My feels got hit. Like, really hard.
It was beautiful. I just don't like how we got there.
True.
Agreed.
Okay, go ahead.
Ray the King makes a funny point. The moment you realize Samuel Tarly might have more kills than Jon Snow. and he cried about it, doing it the whole time. Yeah, Jon's prowess was, at the end, I don't like how he battle rapped a dragon to death. But,
I liked it.
it was okay. I mean, I really like the fire scenes. I really like the sounds. The sound effects in this episode were fantastic. And who was that asked really quick? What's your favorite visual? I love seeing the
Miss
blue fire come out of the side of Viserion's face. That's from Miss Cronall.
The few visuals that I could see were my favorites. Like the few visuals that I could see because...
Hey, candles are a luxury, even for the crew.
It wasn't dark and obscured.
They don't have lights. That's a low budget.
The actually kind of a good visual was like we had kind of pointed out, John, the maester coming out of the crypts of Winterfell.
Was that Lewin?
I guess.
Maybe. Like that.
And was it 1-1?
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know, but it was like that whole thing with like them breaking through, but no one besides a few random people who got killed. Like all of our crypts people were safe. It's like not even
Did a heart fall out of Lyanna's tomb?
Okay, they're two so like trope show moments. I loved Sansa and Tyrion standing next to each other and talking.
Yeah.
Like the dialogue, like as I said earlier, was like the best dialogue in this entire episode. But also just the way the scene was shot was just really good.
They held this battle together through what John, I agree, like through the sentiment that we had in the dialogue. Some of it was cheesier than others, but I totally agree that this CGI magic fest, which is not like really my thing, but I enjoyed, was held together through character grounded moments like you're talking about. I thought they did do that very well.
And then the other, I mean, I have to, just for the badassery, Arya dropping the knife and catching it in her other hand. That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, at least she didn't try to slash with a fucking thrusting weapon again. But can you guys workshop, because that's the self-fulfillment of prophecy. I'm a big advocate of this. I see everybody asking, so who's Azor Ahai? I'm like, stop being Stannis and burning your kid in the flames. You're not getting the point of the folly of prophecy. It is the point of this, that there's really not going to be an Azor Ahai that gets anointed and saves everything. But can we workshop this? Because that should be part of the story, that enough happened in this battle that it can be workshopped for people to explain it away. Because that's how this prophecy keeps going. I thought that the Melisandre stuff was really cool. Actually, I thought it was really well handled. It's but can we workshop the prophecy, like, because that's again how this shit goes down, like with Arthur Dane's sword being put, and you got the falling star, the moon, and then the blood, the salt, you know what I mean? Like, it all, you can check those boxes, but it's all like selective research. Can you do that, Johnny? Can you get it with this battle?
Yeah, you can even go so far as to say Arya Stark will be the queen of the Seven Kingdoms, the princess who was promised, killed the Night King, and brought the dawn. No, it's more of a team effort. If you look at the stories, I know that the Long Night and his 12 companions and Azor Ahai, those are two different stories, but I do kind of think they happen simultaneously. And you could make Azor Ahai more than one character. I think it's fitting. In the books, there's literally a dozen people that are reborn or born from salt and smoke and fit the Azor Ahai motif. So it goes back to what Justin says. Prophecy Well, it goes back to Maester Lewin. Prophecy bites your prick off
Hey,
every
I like the
time.
other way around. Sorry.
But yeah, Justin said this as well. Prophecy bites your prick off every time. And that's the point of this. You make your own fate, just like Sarah Connor says.
Yes. Damn it. Everybody's better than me. Yeah, I like that because I like the idea of it. Because it's like you get where people get these stories from and it inspires them. Like that prophecy helped them through it. How did she light that shit on fire? I don't know. You don't explain magic because then it's science. Shut up. It was cool. But yeah, like I like that. I like the workshopping of it, but I hate when I see the theory of this is why they're Azor Ahai. It's like this is why people will say they're Azor Ahai. You dicks.
Yeah, I agree. I like the conglomerate concept of different characters. There is no one specific. I am famous for actually at con this weekend saying Azor Ahai is a steaming pile of shit. But
Probably.
I slow clap you on that.
Oh, I think it's a red herring.
Yes.
But in saying that, what I'm saying is that everybody makes their own destiny. Everybody tells their own story. And these are all individual characters. There's no big one person who's going to save the fucking world.
Yeah, and there's no justice in the world, right? If Mel gets to walk off into the sunset and just die peacefully. I was so praying that Davos would just shoot her with an arrow in the back while she was walking away.
But I mean, she did sacrifice. It's like I like what John's saying, and this is what the belief system to go and think that it's literally going to be fulfilled is missing the point of why prophecy is injected in this story as a narrative tool. But to not showcase how it can because you have to make it viable that people believe in this stuff and how they explain the unexplainable as we do with our beliefs is silly as well. So that's why I like the group, like what you guys are talking about. Like, yes, I want to workshop this so it works because that's how these things do work. We check people that have different beliefs. They do their selective research, and I'm not shitting on anything. I have my own beliefs, but it's just kind of the way it works. It's like, well, check this box, and well, this technically works like that, or you're misinterpreting that scripture. You know what I mean? So I like that. You have to justify why people would believe in it. It can't be way off base, but it also isn't going to be literally fulfilled.
Yeah, I think it's just to give us a cop-out answer, at least for now. Who they are and what they're doing.
Yeah,
there's
that's a really good point. SaSa, you can't touch this. It seemed like only the main character survived. How does Daenerys Targaryen have an army after that? And that's a good point. We do have Yara, but I'll let y'all take it from here. Go ahead, SaSa.
The army aspect. So all of the Dothraki, minus maybe one, is alive. And they're going to have the token one representation of the Dothraki if they do that. But I highly doubt that. And then they have maybe 50 to 100 Unsullied left. But how much Unsullied did she have to begin with? Like 4,000 Unsullied or something like that? I can't remember exactly.
Like 10,000 altogether with Dothraki.
Yeah, so she may have maybe 200, maybe, if that, to take King's Landing. That's not a good idea against, what is it, 2,000 Golden Company? 20,000 Golden Company.
Where does power lie?
Yeah.
To the sellsword, to the king, to the to the priest.
It's hard to say.
That's the thing. Did she win the love of the people? Because it's about what the series is questioning. Where does power? They literally
power resides where men believe it resides.
Yeah. So if the people get behind what she did, she doesn't need an army. Giving her an army against Cersei they're just going to steamroll that. It's good that she doesn't have an army. She has to win. She has to claim the throne without force.
Well, you have the Glovers, right? Someone brought this up in the chat. I can't remember who, but the Glovers are still there. And, assuming the Long Night didn't get to them, I think they didn't. This makes more sense of why the Glovers are gone, because this is going to be a house that's going to be desperately needed. They're going to need all the troops they can get. Go ahead.
But it's hard to say what she'll do with minimal to no army. Drogon maybe Slim went slightly injured, even though he'll probably miraculously be fine by next episode, which suspending disbelief at its finest, along with Rhaegal. Will probably seemingly be fine as well, even though they both took a hard hits. So it's hard to say.
But how good of a story do we have if she just raises enough, a bunch of troops to go take King's Landing? We need our characters with their backs against the wall. We need her with a sparse amount of troops. We need her to win it in a different way, because she could have took the capital. No matter what Tyrion said, it's all bullshit. She could have took it in season 7. Obviously, we all know that. I think they kind of break the wall in the show and let us know that it was stupid, everything they did. But they can't take it that way. It has to be taken in a way that isn't by force, because that's just another battle,
Yeah, I that's
not saying there's going to be a battle. There will be a battle. That's all.
More support for Tyrion season 7 than a lot of people do. Is because he keeps pointing out to Dany, he's like, you can't just fucking kill people. Like, you're not gonna win that way.
Well, what about Dany not having her conscience now?
You're gonna be like your dad.
Yeah,
and people are gonna like you about as much as they liked your dad.
The blockade just counts on Cersei not caring that people are starving to death, though. That's the only issue. I totally agree with you, John. And it's just I think that's the sentiment of it. The problem is, like, when you look at the situation, like, if you're going to starve them out, Cersei's going to let them starve, But I think the sentiment is what you're saying. Like, I agree with you. I just don't think it was delivered. You know what I mean?
And this is food that's going to, like, this isn't food that's going to, the lords of King's Landing or whatever. This is food that's going to like poor people who.
I thought you said whore people. I was like, yes, finally, somebody needs to feed the whores, and they do.
That's what I thought you said too, John. That's funny.
Well, there might be a few poor whores,
There are,
but
yeah,
this is food that's going to people who like need to eat, and you just sit here and destroy it all.
Yeah, the blockade is stopping that food.
Like. Her military tactics are I can't even think of adjectives that I could properly use.
She's trying to win an ethical war with nuclear weapons.
That's a damn good way to put it.
I mean, it's impossible. You know what I mean?
Hashtag whore food. What is going on in chat?
Guys, make sure to, just like your local PBS, support all your local whores that make sex that much easier for people that can't have regular sex. It's important. Like, everybody needs to get sex.
It's whore food. Also, Jose Martel.
Dornish Dan, it's time for like you said.
Exactly. Dornish Jose Martel needs to show up.
Gosh, Jose'll be there. Bringing the spicy food,
Well, if we're like allowed Johnny to talk about the promo for just 2 seconds, there is a scene though where
no, not yet. Really quick though, I did got a Miss Cronall sent me a question earlier, and we haven't touched on it. And it's the White Walker in the room. What the hell were the point of Craster's sons?
Oh, the generals.
I can tell you they were controlling the army, possibly with their minds. Other than that, they were just the Night King's entourage. What do you think?
Yeah, it was just the entourage make them look more powerful. I would have thought that they would have had one sneak in and try and take Baby Sam. Or Baby Sam would have been more important, especially because he screams bloody murder when one of them gets out of the tomb or their crypt or whatever. So it's like I would have thought that Baby Sam would have been more snatchable than just hiding behind Gilly. But even then, Gilly had him in front of her. So it's like, I don't know. Someone should have been snatched by one of the generals, but I'll shush.
The function of Craster's babies is not everything. I think that people get a little bit lost. They're like, "Ooh, this person did this," so they have to like play this crucial role. I always use my bad metaphor of there's 18 people locked in a room, and this is your story. They have to get out. Not all 18 people find the key and unlock it at the same time. It means different things for other people. Some people, their experience in the room, and so forth. The function of Craster's babies in the show are simply to show the White Walkers doing something that's not killing, and doing something to show they have an agenda and they have wants and desires. Just like the patterns and everything else, the primordial spiral. They have organization, they have language. That means they discuss things with themselves. That means that they're communicating their needs, wants, and so forth. It's to humanize them and to invoke empathy. It is not meaning, ooh, they got to get that baby. It is literally just, it's called saving a cat. And then there's called kicking a cat. In stories, as far as tropes go, kicking a cat is when a good character needs to be bad, so they have them just kick a cat. They have them just do something like outrageously bad that doesn't fit within their archetype. Saving a cat is kind of what this is, kind of, and it's not great, but this is the mechanic. They're saving the cat. They're saving the baby. It's like, oh, look at this monster. It's saving a baby. That is the mechanic. Stop. I think my advice is stop looking for like the exact reason why they need that baby, or why Gilly is now 400 pounds throwing a baby in front of her, which does not have any empathy for her. But you know what I mean? Like, it's more of just like, that's the only action we see that isn't dubious, right?
I don't know if you've been in White Walker parties that I've been to, but we usually discuss discard.
I'm not a White Walker hater. I'm sure they do all sorts of cool shit.
Well, I saw one juggle one time.
No,
that's beside the point.
Philosophers, it's ridiculous. It's actually really obnoxious.
But to do that though, I mean, I feel like, you know, we had them have the one-on-one fight with John. You would think he would send, because they are more intelligent seemingly fighters than these undead mindless beings are, and the fact that Brienne, yes, should have died. Even though I love Brienne, now what is she going to do? She could be the new King's Guard or Queen's Guard, so to speak. I'm pretty sure that's in store for Brienne. I see her, you know, I don't see her dying now. You're gonna have her live through all this and then have some Brienne die. I don't think it's gonna happen. But I do fear for some of the other characters that they may get a slightly rushed death at the end, especially with what you're saying. So they'll just storm King's Landing and be over in 20 minutes. I hope not. But, you know, I hate saying I wish more people would have died on the episode, but damn it, man. It's okay. Let's get into a little bit. I know we've talked about the tombs. Let's talk a little bit about Jaime. We haven't talked too much about Jaime. He's pretty good with his left hand, seemingly. Few cases he got saved. He saved Brienne one time, and they had their backs up against the wall. What do you think's in store for Jaime here? Because I think there's definitely some sexual tension gonna happen now.
What did Bronn say after to Tyrion after they were fighting with when fighting with Catelyn?
You think they're fracking?
Probably, or someone will be by next episode.
Yeah, is that foreshadowing, Justin? I think so.
What was it? I'm sorry, I was.
What Bronn says to Tyrion, take a woman after your battle.
Oh, it says it in the pod too.
Yeah.
You think there's
Jaime,
something's going down.
Jaime, like I said, was essential to live through this because, again, sorry to sound like you know, just somebody that's quoting screenwriting books, which I am. You want your characters' backs against the wall. His back couldn't get more against the wall with Cersei in the situation he's in now, especially if that baby, whether or not it's true, it's going to be perceived to be true by him. So this is great conflict. His hands are tied. His hand. Sorry, I already fat shamed. People are going to be mad at me. So yeah, I think that the foreshadowing is that he's going to have to choose between love and duty, which is a huge aspect of the story. And we had the things we do for love in the first episode, and we might have the things we do for duty. No pun intended, in the later episodes. I mean, again, Brienne, I like Brienne, but she's not necessary for this going forth. There's not a lot of conflict with her, but there could be with the division between Sansa and Dany if that gets to a higher level. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, like if there's the Queen's Guard, if Sansa needs a Queen's Guard, because no one's found out that Brienne is a knight, so that'll be his thing. Like we'll have to have a checkup, like on everybody next episode. So what has happened since the last episode? This person said. Oh, Brienne got leveled up. Let's see. This person said Arya killed the Night King. Blah blah blah. Like it'll be a town hall meeting about what happened in the last episode. Yeah.
Steve York says it perfect, right?
Yeah, what are we facing now in episode 4? An episode where inevitably poor dialogue and sequential plot between 2 Miguel Sapochnik episodes after a big budget Dance of Dragons, for fuck's sake.
We're going to see people, how this has affected them. We're going to see the stances they take. We're going to see debate, which is a great way to show character, because we see what people say they want to do, and then we see what people do. That's one saving grace of season 7 is essentially a campaign by all people involved saying this is why Jon Snow should be, and this is why Dany, and because they're stating what they want to do, why they want to do it. They have people that follow them. You see who follows them. You see who doesn't. You see where their loyalties lay. And then we see action in the next episode. It is what it is. It's essentially, I don't really think it's going to be bad, to be honest. I think it has potential to be bad. But...
Yeah. Next episode, massive cleanup. And a lot of dialogue.
What do we do now? How do we do it? Why are we doing it this way?
What we're doing for episode 5.
And then what do we do in episode 5?
And then the inevitable Tormund, Jaime, and Brienne love triangle that we all love so much. They're going to have a goat's milk drinking contest.
That was such a lovely story about the giant's breast. I was like, oh, I wish I had something like that.
The question's been floating around. Will Arya be knighted? They just knighted Brienne. Do we think Arya will be knighted next episode? No. If she survives episode 6, yes.
She's not a knight, though. She's
I know, but I'm just saying, like, if they want to give her a knighthood, they would do it episode 6.
It gives a shit about the knight.
Yeah, nobody in the North cares. We don't need that, and we don't fight in tournaments. Blah, blah, blah.
There was a question, too. I know we talked.
If she does get knighted, I will say they'll only cite the stranger.
There was a question, though, by Living on a Prayer, which we didn't really get to when we were talking about Braun, sorry. But it's what happened to Alice Karstark, and was if Braun was sent to get, or like Alice Karstark, what would have happened to Sansa because that's a thing that's kind of dropped over the last couple of seasons because Cersei wanted Sansa's head after Joffrey was murdered. So it's like, could there be like a secret thing in that too? It's like just to kill my brothers. Why not go and try and also kill somebody else that Cersei hates at the same time? Unless Cersei and Daenerys get the same treatment come episode 5 or whatever. When it comes to Cersei, because like I don't know.
I don't know if they're going that far. I think they may be just getting Bronn out of there. For one, I don't think Cersei trusts Bronn, so she wants him gone. Just give him a dummy mission. I really think it's pretty much a dummy mission. I don't think she thinks anything's going to come of it. She almost may be counting on Bronn betraying her. She said this in the past,
him out. Right? If he does it, he does it. It shows where the allegiance is. If not, get this guy that has no reason to be in the capital out of the fucking capital.
Yeah. That's it.
Tonight pod. Oh, there's everybody's saying that Brienne needs to knight Pod. So then will Jaime become a grand knight, parent to knighter?
Well, that's the only reason Pod has lived that, and to become a what do you call them?
Bard. Did you think he knew how to sing before the show?
No, a breeding horse is all he's gonna be.
Oh yeah, he's real good at sex too. I forgot about Pod fucks. I forgot.
iPod.
Yeah.
John, what was your least favorite part of this episode? I just love making it negative.
I think this was a great episode. I really enjoyed it. My one complaint, which I went into earlier, is I really did not care for how the lighting was done. I understand this is supposed to be a battle that's going on at night. I understand that you want some realism, but seriously, I can't see a fucking thing.
I'll say it's better than. I want to know. Do you think it's better than the
never mind.
wall, the battle? I forget the name. That was really bad. I think it was better than that. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but
talking-
you had snow there.
Yeah.
Like, we're supposed to be in Winterfell. You should have snow. Like give it some backlighting or something like that.
I'm with you. I'm just wondering what you think is worse.
I yeah, and that's the thing. Like, watching this episode, especially with all the dragon shit,
Yeah.
they dumped a shitload of money into CGI. And
They
you're
didn't
like,
have enough to get Ghost back in this episode.
why'd you make it so dark?
Because the CGI budget was cut slightly. They saved money. They gave themselves a bonus or something because you don't have to get into as much detail when it's that blurry and when it's that opaque.
I did a half a video, then I scrapped it of exactly what the CGI cost is. A great example of 70% Ghost is when Jon is still dead. Look at Ghost howling outside of Castle Black. Look at it. It looks like a blurry police footage. That's him at 70% texture. It's just like it's just blurred out. It's really hard to do the texturing on him. He should be a lot bigger too, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he decreased in size.
A lot bigger.
It happens. He's been smoking or something since his growth.
He needs some Jon love. That's why, because Jon's abandoned him for 2 seasons. He just needs some cuddles.
I'd like to see him kill Rhaegal. I'll just say it. Ghost kills Rhaegal. I'm fine with it. Fair game.
Ghost eats some wolfsbane, then gets eaten by Rhaegal, and then Rhaegal is poisoned
Isn't
by
anybody not surprised that the super PAC did not show up? Like, you're not surprised
I'm not
that they didn't
surprised at that at all. Like,
they just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Everybody's like, where was the super PAC? It's like, CGI, people. CGI.
Yeah.
I think story-wise, it's important.
So do I. They're like the they're
the moment when Arya's like, "That's not you," and I thought that was really important to Arya's entire story arc.
Yeah, like they're the symbolism. They're the mythic symbol for the Starks. You know what I mean? So I agree with Jon. Like there should be that clash, like the symbolism. But CGI is a motherfucker, I guess.
Well, I guess they want to keep 2 direwolves alive for now.
I mean, the dragons were cool. You got to kind of admit that, but
when you could see them, they were great.
Yeah, and I would kind of throw this so we don't get too negative on here. And we're coming up on an hour and a half, so I would say, what is your main takeaway from this episode? For me, I think slightly underwhelming, but the end of the world is done for now. I think it still holds humans still hold their fate in their hands, and it is a very delicate balance right here. Just because the Night King's defeated, I don't think humanity is safe. Humanity is still at a risk for destroying itself, and I do believe they're really set up for a little dance with dragons action here. I don't think we'll necessarily see another dragon battle, although I wouldn't put it past D&D, but Jon and Dany are going to be 2 dragons that are going to be vying for the affection of everyone around them. There's going to be a little political game, I'm hoping, here. And someone just made a point, Miss Cronall, you think we'll get all 4 Stark siblings in a room talking strategy together? I think we may see that. At least I want to. Justin, what's your takeaway?
Just because you killed the monster doesn't mean you're not one. So that's what we're dealing with. The true monster is the one that didn't side with the living. The White Walkers are a binding force. They work in that sense as a storytelling tool. It's a mechanic within the story. They bind together people at odds. And now we get to see what they do with the world that they were so eager to preserve. If they keep fucking it up or if they get their shit together. And we're going to see some good thrones because the peak magic, I'm not a huge fan of it. I still thought it was a really fun episode. I have to do my rewatch before I do my video, but I thought it was really fun. Bran needs to do some splaining about what Bran was doing and why he needs to explain if I'm going to sign off on all of his finances for his trip beyond the wall, for his expense report. of why he needed to do all this, because I'm not sold. But as far as the Night King goes, again, I just want to stick with that. His arc, complete. For better or worse, it's complete. It's the brand is the whole people are seeing. But yeah, now we get to see if they can, do everything right now that they got rid of all those monsters, because like I think John brought it up earlier, wasn't like, those monsters have been there the whole time and they haven't been evolving or doing very well.
That's a good point.
Also,
Sorry
it's
for
going to
the
be a heck of a
ASMR.
fun time, guys, and it's going to be bittersweet, just like every show.
Yeah, we may have a golden boy ending, and Cersei lays a golden egg, all that good stuff. John, what's your takeaway from the episode?
Oh, okay. Jaime is going to kill Cersei. John's going to get stuck with the throne and fucking hate it. And Theon dying made me cry.
I share that.
Literally cry like snot coming out my nose in front of other grown human beings. Like
don't tell the whole world.
Mess. Oh, I was an absolute mess.
I
Before or after you took a nap. If nobody's seen it, you gotta check out John's fun time at Ice and Fire Con. Miss Granall makes a very good statement. They see the human monster element up beautifully with Davos preparing to kill Mel at the end of this episode. Not even a dead army can make you forget your grievances with the living. It's a really great point. SaSa, did you give your final thought? Well, you know what I mean. What did you take away from this episode? What was the main thing? Had something to do with Sansa, I know.
No. The main takeaway from this episode is that they're testing the limits of Jon and fire again, which, unless they're going to play with the continuity errors, Jon is not averse to fire, unlike most people. And also with the whole thing with Dany thinking that Dracarys would work on the Night King, it's just a little bit like a... And yeah, just also like them not preparing at all for the fact that he can just walk over there to where everybody else is and just go boop and like raise his hands and they'll just go boop, we're all awake.
The lack of communication, right, SaSa? They didn't communicate very well. Is that going to play into the future episodes? I think it might.
And the fact that none of them even like tried to remember the fact that there's a guy that likes to raise Jon. You watched him raise dead people, yet you want to put all of the people, mostly the vulnerable, in a position where they're surrounded by dead people with not even a few people who actually can sword fight. Yes, you see Arya give Sansa a dragon glass dagger, but what's that really gonna do? Sansa has not been prepared to try to fight. She's like, I don't know what to do with this. You need at least a few people. Maybe that's where the Vale men like should have been, like at least 5 of them, just in case, so we don't see zombies ripping apart women and children that like didn't need to die like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I had it coming.
Yeah.
To Justin's comment earlier in the chat, they should have kind of been behind the lines of the trench. They should have had that lit up from the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's Podrick and the Dragon Wolves is their band, and they're gonna play the Song of Ice and Fire. It's gonna be awesome.
Podrick is the lead singer now.
Yeah, he's a good singer. Challenge you.
Okay, so we've pointed out everything to whinge about this episode. Overall, it's a good episode, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's classic Game of Thrones battle cinema.
Yeah, we're gonna whinge about all the like stupid shit that, but overall, it's a good episode. What would your rating be?
Oh, my rating is we're not ranking it, so you'll get my rating.
That's what we do on Episode Club, John. We rank it on episode.
You follow my lead, sir. Don't make me digitally slap y'all.
4 out of 5 Justins, but there's no you don't know what Justins mean. So.
Screw you, Justin.
They're not good.
Stop giving ratings.
I liked it.
Stop.
I liked it.
stop
I
being
liked
that.
it though. I agree with John's sentiment.
No, I do agree with that. If y'all want to, y'all can give your ratings. Go ahead and give me your ratings in the chat. I like trolling John a little bit. Don't touch me, John. But with that, what do you give it, John? Because I give it, I'd have to say an 8.5, but I'll save my funniness for episode club.
You told me that in secret. I was going to say if you're going to stay true.
John?
I'm actually going to give this, outside of the vision issues. So let's go ahead and take the fact that like half of it's shut in the darkness and you can't see anything. I'll give it a solid 9 Arya blade drops.
Oh, yeah, Arya's coming with them razor blades. Hashtag phrasing. Just be careful with that. SaSa, what is your ranking?
Oh. Originally, I thought it was like a 9 because it's probably the best well done episode of the season so far. But in terms of, because you know my qualms with it, if you've watched either Johnny's streams or my streams, the last 2 episodes were kind of choppy, and one entire section of Arya and Gendry scenes should have been flipped, but that's besides the point. So now I think it's more or less a 9, like an 8.75 to a 9. It's somewhere in there. I'll give my definitive answer on episode club.
Yeah, rewatches tend to provide a little more clarity. Justin, are you sticking with your Justins?
No, because that's nonsense. I've only done my first watch. I'm out to my second. For how much I dislike magic being invoked in this story, but as much as I appreciate they didn't do some time travel nonsense and have everything go in reverse, and they better not do that, I'm giving it 8 out of 10. I thought that, even with the lighting, and I'm with John, it was not good. Nobody should say that, hey, that was lit perfectly. By any means, that's insane. But I do feel that for the amount of CGI they had, that I give them more of a pass on this than I do for, like, say, when they're at Last Hearth. Like I couldn't see shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but that's basing it off of their lighting. So, which is not a lot of lumens by any means. But yeah, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It got what it needed to do done.
Yeah, it was like it was strictly for movie theater or something only. But I'll go into some of the rankings we have here in the chat. Ms. Cronall gives it 9 out of 10. Anime lover Nicole gives it an 8 out of 10. Reese O gives it a 1 out of 10. Is that because the Night King died? I know it is, Reese. You troll. Lady Laura Dane Starfall gives it a 9 out of 10. JD gives it a 7 out of 10. Katrina Torres gives it a 9 out of 10. Steve York, the last 10 minutes made it a 5.5 out of 10 for Steve York. You will have to elaborate on that because that's very low. Neo Planner, episode 3 is a 10 out of 10 for directing and 0 out of 10 for D&D writing. I like that answer. Girl Nettles, 9 out of 10. Girl Nettles, your keychain is coming, and stay tuned Friday for some questions. And if you have the answers, you might get something. I can't really tell you online.
Can I put out a question for people?
Yeah.
What do you think would work better as far as the Night King goes? I want people to maybe have some situations in which he ends up dying, but maybe I think a lot of people feel they didn't have any like a certain reason for him coming specifically is the problem. But I feel that if you workshop that scene, that you'll find that really the best you could do is say, oh, he used to be a Stark or a Targaryen. That's a familiar tie. So now, I'd like to see if somebody could give me a better way to end that. I'm not so sold on the Arya, but meaning like for them to like explain themselves to some extent, because I feel that that's what people are feeling as a void, when I think it wouldn't be better if that did happen. It's one of those be careful what you wish for situations. That's all. So fan fiction it up. I want to see.
Yeah, I would say just connect the dots in your head. It's not going to help you out. It's not going to make you enjoy the show more if you have them super explain it to you, honestly. I'd say think about it. Think about it hard, but don't, we literally dissect the living shit out of this to our detriment sometimes. So don't do that if you don't have to, and I'm definitely not always right, but I do enjoy talking about it.
May I propose a
Um,
theory?
What's that?
May I propose a theory?
Yes.
Sure.
I think the Night King's actually going to have a musical.
Whatever, man.
I like it. I think he owns a
Cats.
coat factory, and he was just bringing the storm down there because it's ill-equipped with textiles. Imagine that. He goes everywhere it gets cold. Go down to Dorne. You think they got winter coats? Fuck no. But guess who does? The Night King. Runs about back of a van.
Night King's actually a huge Rogers and Hammerstein fan.
Yep.
Probably. I would say he is.
He also used to babysit for the Starks. So there's
He
your
really did. And,
I just really want to see the Night King sing "The Hills Are Alive" with the sound of music.
This will be the last question really quick. Gladiator to the North. I want to kind of put this to rest. I don't think we're going to find out if he's a Targaryen or a Stark.
Doesn't matter.
What?
Does not matter.
Doesn't matter.
Never mind. Is that all y'all have to say on it? Don't
That's just my opinion, but my opinion also doesn't matter.
Well, if the Night King is a Stark or a Targaryen, we would have maybe found that out from Bran. We've just been like, oh yeah, he was Stark, Targaryen.
We're not paying for his meals. That business trip was not fucking worth it.
There was a Dornish Dan says Jose Martel was there. He attached dragon glass to his boot soles and flamenco danced over the white.
Well, thank you, Dornish Dan. Would y'all like to tell everybody where they can find you? Maybe?
Sure.
John, where can everybody find you?
In my channel, John St. Baptiste. I'm gonna have to do a double header tomorrow because I really need to figure out what songs I'm gonna put together for this episode. But what I'm currently doing is 5 episodes Monday through Friday to define each of the new 5 tracks to define the new episode of Game of Thrones. And this is a big one. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm like totally taking it out and gonna wait until tomorrow and do a double header. But I want to make sure I do it properly. And then at the end of the week, you can vote on what you think should be the episode for that track. And I will put the playlist together at the end of the season.
Behind Blue Eyes.
Yeah, you definitely got to go check that out. And then, like Justin said, behind those blue eyes, you don't know what it's like.
Yeah, I did. I did a video. I did a mashup with that.
Yeah, Justin, where can they find you at? I hear that you do stuff on YouTube.
You follow me on MapQuest. Follow me on there. In the Top Shelf Fandom, we actually have a stream tonight at 7. And I will be on with a podcast Winterfell too. We're going to be doing a YouTube roundtable after that. And hopefully I'll have a review and a recap video out. So I like to look at storytelling as a whole and not get so stuck in the nuances and all the little small details, because as we see, it never really pays out. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to jump in. It's awesome to work with you too as well, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, man. It was fantastic, and it's always a pleasure to get your insight. MackenzieLBurns, a.k.a. SaSa, where the hell can they find you? And I hear you have something like an episode club that happens. I don't know. I hear it gets crazy around there.
Yeah, so you can find me on my channel, where on Wednesday night we will be talking about this exact episode, along with special guest Septician and Secrets should be joining us for that one. Plus a few other people who have yet to confirm yet, but yeah, we'll be doing that, and Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, and yeah, I'm always on Johnny's channel or always on Silent John. So just find us there. We're always seemingly on the live stream. So yeah,
definitely go hit all the buttons respectively.
And my reaction to the episode should hopefully be out by tonight, because that was a big question fandom had for me early on in this stream. When's it coming? By tonight. Just editing takes forever.
It'll be here. You just wait. Phantom Descent. Watch yourself.
Yeah, I got a reaction to me with just dead eyes, a lot of cough syrup, just staring at the screen, never even blink. It's great.
That's all he does. That's all he does. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you got to check out Phantom Descent's reaction. It's pretty awesome. But go check out all my friends. Respectively, hit all the buttons. I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons. Go check me out on Patreon. Become a crazy companion or an insane elite today. Thank you so much, my friends. Amy True, Anime Lover Nicole, Bobby Catalano, Catherine Harding, Catherine Cronin, Clarissa Thompson, Dornish Dan, what is up? John St. Baptiste, Juanita Bryant, aka Dark Mother, Katrin C, and Nancy T, the maker of blankets. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. And y'all are fantastic. With that, we will see you on Nooners of Ice and Fire Friday. Go check out Justin's channel tonight for sure, and MackenzieLBurns on Wednesdays. And John is always bringing the heat on his if you need to know anything about music. The man brings the knowledge, so definitely go check that out. With that, we'll also see you on the Cylon Johns. And I'll shut the hell up now. Y'all have a great day and many more streams to come. So have a good one, my friends. Peace.